Good evening. Leading our news tonight, the police department has been fairly busy following courts last week, and the department has also welcomed the return of the former Chief of Police, Ross Arden, who has returned in the capacity as the acting Chief of Police, while Chief Chenery is away on leave. Ross says that last weekend was fairly peaceful despite a few minor incidents.
Last weekend it wasn't too bad. The police dealt again with people driving whilst intoxicated. I would have thought that by now we would have been able to get an understanding that that's really not acceptable behaviour here in Niue. And the only other matter that came to attention was a domestic assault, which has resulted in the arrest of a man who's due to appear in court in the next local court hearings.
In addition to their normal operational duties with the incarceration of 2 young men in the prison, the department has a fair amount of work to do, but do not expect any difficulties.
Both young men at the prison are showing a remarkable sense of maturity. They recognise that they are incarcerated for some time, and they are getting on with each other reasonably well. And I'm very impressed with their performance thus far. I don't expect any difficulties at all with the 2 inmates that we have. They, as I've said, recognise the position that they are in. They're demonstrating a sense of maturity. They're settling into the prison routine, and within the next couple of weeks we'll be able to look at how else we can what else we can do to support the 2 inmates. It's not my view that they should be just sitting in there day after day. We need to keep them actively engaged, learning and involved in the community in some shape, manner or form. But really that's a decision for Chief Chenery to make. I have my own views on it, but I don't want to usurp his role, given that he'll be back here in a week or so.
Lately, the police have also been out on the road in the early hours of the morning, doing spot checks for warrant of fitness and a friendly reminder that licenses and registrations of vehicles are also up for renewal by the end of this month. Niue High School students put their oratory skills in the local vernacular as the Wangahau Niue speech competition was held yesterday. Students from years 10, 11 and 12 were challenged to take pride in the use of Wangahau Niue. This was displayed as they took to the pulpit to deliver speeches with a variety of topics ranging from climate change to traditional practices, lifelong learning, reflecting on the changes in times and cultural practices, Niue's declining population, Anzac and other subjects close to their hearts. Judges had a difficult time to evaluate accordingly, as students' presentations were impressive and the use of visual aids and music to add effect to speeches was also noticeable. But in all competitions there must be a winner, and once the points were tallied up, the winners in Year 10 went to Ashley Pinia. For Year 11, Achon Tatui, and Year 12 went to Ms. Tamara Mutama. The hope is that students will continue to raise the level of use of Wangahau Niue within school, and all these speeches will be broadcasted on television Niue. Poultry farmers were delighted today as they collected their chickens from Waipapahi. This is the first batch under the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries' new scheme to provide support in sourcing chicklings at a cost to the farmer. The response has been positive, and after 4 weeks of caring for the chicklings, they are now big enough to be transferred to their rightful owners. One farmer says the assistance is much appreciated and has been a long time coming. That should have been done in conjunction with the first project, where broilers and layered chickens were distributed as part of the FAO project for consistency of supply. He says there has been a 2-year gap before another lot of chicks have been sourced, but hopefully this initiative will encourage more farmers to increase their poultry farms, contributing to food security by supplying fresh eggs and fresh poultry meat, and to decrease the reliance on imported frozen chickens and eggs. There is great potential for poultry farming success on the island, and the department continued to provide the service depending on the demand from the farmers, as most of the costs are taken on by the farmer. At the summit in Fiji Islands progressed on its first official day, the media continued to receive criticism and a call for all journalists and practitioners to be mindful of their responsibilities to ensure good governance and practices and support public perception of the media. The importance of public trust and the need for the media to enhance its credibility and integrity. Participants heard from some of the most valued journalists near and far of the difficulties to gain public trust, the public's right to know, the crisis of confidence, and the reduction of respect and more cynicism of the media. On the other side of the spectrum, the media's right to information and the gag that journalists sometimes receive, and the extreme arm of a national security force that restricts proper and unbiased stories. Grub Street's media, Graham Davies, summed up for most media watchdogs that a near enough story is not good enough. The increasing exchange of content on social media tools like Facebook, Twitter, and blogs have encouraged citizen journalism to create content and distribute to a wider audience. But is that threatening public trust on traditional media? According to 6 professionals, it's a catch-22. In some small island states like Tuvalu, there are no such streams for citizens to channel because of the lack of internet, but for others it continues to increase. Social media and its contents must always adhere to ethics of information and distribution. During the summit, a chance was also given to indigenous media ownership, the struggle they face and continue to experience, and the motivation to stay afloat. Shona Pitt of Pitt Media Group, who was also a previous general manager of BCN, said, "Perseverance is the key, and doubts must be put aside if one is to be successful." Michael Jackson of the US Star, who was one of the panelists for Indigenous media ownership, also has the same views, but as he expressed, there must be a cohesive approach by mainstream media to exchange its resources and assist the continuation of Indigenous ownership. A comment by a regional journalist that Niue has 12,000 in population was soon requested by Mr. Jackson to correct his content and to ensure that accuracy with content has to reflect the credibility of that journalist. As he said, numbers may not be so important to one person, but it is to many others. The rest of the summit continues to hammer the message to all journalists. The media must cover stories responsibly and without bias. There must be no doubt in the public mind of any deception. A total of 24 presentations took place yesterday and a further 15 will continue today, and a total of over 200 participants has joined the discussions. This story was from Wana'ainu'u at Pacific Harbour, Fiji Islands for BCN News. The final round of Kilikiki pool games last weekend has seen a complete reshuffle of placings compared to last year. According to the Kilikiki Committee, in Pool A, Mutalo came out on top with 20 points, Liku 16, Makefu and Alofi equal with 10, and Tankotonga with 4 points. In Pool B, Awasele are in first with 25 points, Hakupu 21, Tuapa 17, La Kapa 13, Waiea 9 points, and Hikutoi 5. In that case, this weekend's finals will see Awasele and Mutalo face off for bragging rights this coming weekend, as both teams make it through the season unbeaten, both winning their final round games, getting a ticket into the finals. This weekend, Mutalo and Awasele will play in Hakupu for first and second place, and Liku versus Hakupu and Liku for third and fourth placing. Both games will start at 8 a.m. sharp, and the scores for last weekend's games are still being compiled. And that is our news bulletin for tonight. We do hope that you can join us again for our next news bulletin next week.